with our second market coming up this weekend. It's time that I show you a flower farm and market garden tour. We are into the second week of November and it's definitely autumn, but the weather is still so weird. I mean, it's November, it's a beautiful day. We really haven't had any rain and we've had the tiniest of frost. So I've still got loads of flowers, which for this weekend is great. Now I have looked at the forecast and actually we don't seem to be threatened with any frost for the rest of this week. But luckily we're close enough now so that if something does happen or is aiming to happen before Friday, I can just harvest the flowers and pop them in pots of water and then have them in the shed and prepare them for the market. And we've still actually got quite a few things going. So first up we've got our dahlias, which are still doing really nice. Now these are the seed dahlias, so I grew them myself from seed. I have been absolutely stunned by their flowering capabilities, I guess, considering they were tiny little seedlings. And there's some really gorgeous, I mean some lovely colour. Look at this one, the colour on that. This is my favourite. I love the colour. The only thing with this cactus dahlia is it tends to, not all of the petals tend to come out right. So you can see that here, some of the petals, and on this one, they don't completely unfurl. So that's the only bad thing about this. I mean, this one, so the colour's amazing, but probably the petals aren't. And then there's this beautiful one here. So there are some really gorgeous dahlias that I can cut for the bouquets. Randomly, we've still got one glad, two glads flowering, and that's all thanks to the wildlife, because if you remember, the wildlife dug up my bulbs when I put them in. So I essentially had to successfully sow them by each time replanting them, which means it's November and there's still glads coming out. Those glads can't go into vases, however, because they're minuscule, but it's kind of amazing that they are even flowering still. The next row along was cornflowers, and they were absolute stalwarts of the year. And I will break down the figures when the frost gets everything. I'll break down the flower figures of what we sold and how much we made. And most of this bed is gone, but there are still a few flowers, and actually, although it looks nothing, when I pick it, I'll probably get 2 or 3 posies out of that. And if I throw in a bit of foliage as well to bulk it up, we'll get another crop out of that. The next row over are the straw flowers, and there's still a ton. Again, it doesn't look like a lot, but when they're in the shade, they're not open. As soon as the sun comes across, they will all open, and then they look like there's a lot more. But if we walk down here, for example, you can see there is still loads and loads of buds. And last month I completely harvested these. I stripped them off completely, thinking that they wouldn't make it this far. And they've produced all of this still. So really excited to be able to cut straw flowers. The zinnias, however, although it looks like I've got some crop, I really don't. There are a very few good ones like this, but most of them have gone like this. So they're old, and that's because I didn't harvest them, because I wanted to leave as much in the ground as possible until this coming weekend. But it does mean that for the most part these zinnias are done, they're over. I mean, you can see the frost has just got the edges of those petals, and of course that makes them completely unusable. However, what the frost hasn't gotten are these snapdragons, which I've still got. Again, I haven't got a vast amount of them. They're a bit like the cornflowers. I've got a couple of little clumps. So there's a little clump there. And then there's some here, and some here, and some here. And then a few, oh, I'm falling over. A few little clumps here. But there's enough there to bulk up and make a couple of snapdragon posies. The sunflowers are also done. When you look down the bed, it looks like there's a few, but actually on closer inspection, they are a bit tatty, and you certainly couldn't put those in posies or bunches. However, this bed has been replanted with wallflowers, which have all done really, really well. So I'm quite excited just to cut all of the sunflowers out, and to, so I cut them at the base. I leave the roots in and they just decompose, adding a bit of organic mulch. And so those are there. And then the frost did get the amaranth. So this was my amaranth bed along here. And you can see the frost has got the leaves and killed the plants off. However, I came down one morning, I saw the frost had got stuff, and so I quickly cut out the best of the amaranth and stripped off the leaves, and they're in the shed. So I have still got some amaranth flowers that I can use. And I was hoping I could have harvested what I didn't take out, but actually what's happened is the frost has come along and it's got frosted, and then all of these lovely flowers have turned from their lovely radiant colour to brown. So that's a little tip: if the frost gets your amaranth, harvest them immediately so you can save those flowers, because if you leave them out, your colour will disappear and you won't have any flowers to pick. That's the flower farm situation outside. In here, as I said, so I picked some of the amaranth, not a great deal, but some, and you can see these still have colour. I've also gone up to the pond and picked some water mint to use as a filler. And I've started to lift the gladioli. So here are ones that I've lifted to dry. I'll cut all these tops off, and you can see they have made so many little babies. So I'm just waiting for everything to dry off, then I will take off all of these little ones and pot them up separately. They will take several years before they flower. I've even got some that grew quite considerably. They will still take several years, but I like to propagate and save. So I need to do the rest of the glads, and let me show you the flower situation in the polytunnel. So in the polytunnel, I am largely prepping for next year. So we've still got our little bits of lettuces and stuff in, but it's mostly flowers for next year. So we've got Honesty here, which is a biennial, just amazing for seed pods. We have got yarrow. So these are all yarrow or achillea seedlings that need, I should say everything needs potting up. I just haven't had time. So everything needs potting up. We've got some Rebecca and some thistles. This is Hesperus. So we've got Hesperus purple and Hesperus white. Again, badly needs potting up. And then we have lots of Sweet Williams. So this is the Higgledy mix. This is Nigricans. This is Alba. And then I have another little mix of stuff down here. So that's the flower farm situation. I have just ordered £1,500 worth of building supplies so I can get that fence done over by the pigs, which means that's coming next week. So from next week I can start to get all of my daffodil bulbs and tulip bulbs and all of that into the beds. I decided I am going to do raised beds. I was talking it through with a friend the other day, and I realized actually that area does get quite wet. And so I don't want to put the bulbs into the ground because I'm worried about rot. So I'm going to put them into some big raised beds, which I think will look very pretty. So on to the food, of which there doesn't look to be a lot because there isn't. But as with everything, when you start to harvest, you realise you've actually got more than you think. So the kale has come on really well. I think I talked to you last time about the kale being nibbled and just take off all of the caterpillar damaged leaves, strip it, and they come back. And they've come back really well. Now they haven't come back quite to the extent that I wanted, so I'm not going to be able to offer big, lovely bouquets of kale leaves like I do with the chard. The chard I bundle up into big leaves and people can just have big leaves of chard. The kale, I think I'm going to have to pick and sell as baby kale in bags. The bags I use, I'm not completely happy with. They're not transparent because I have chosen a compostable bag that completely breaks down, but it means that it's kind of opaque, so you can't see inside. So I'm unsure yet how I'm going to showcase this. I might put one in a plastic bag so people can see what it's like and then have the other bags. So we've got this type of kale and then the other kale that was really, really eradicated by the bugs is here. I'm right in the sun. Where is the sun? Here it is. And you can see lots of little baby leaves, which will be nice and yummy, but not big leaves. So I'll definitely have to do just baby leaves for these. As I said, I've got no shortage of chard. There is a ton of that all up here. I have a very few lettuces. Again, the shortening hours of daylight and combined with the cold temperatures means that I haven't got as many as I'd hoped. So there's only probably 3 or 4 or maybe 5 decent ones that I can pick and take. But it's better than nothing. And remember, this is test year. This is not the proper year. This is just a test year. So it doesn't really matter. Again, the spinach is all starting to come on, but it hasn't come on enough for me to pick and sell that. We have quite a few beets, however. So there are enough. We've got the sunlight here. It's lovely with the sun, but it does mean that it's all in my face. But we've got beets down here, and we've got enough beets to pick a nice number of bunches. We've got carrots. Something was nibbling my carrots, so I put it under some agri-mesh, but we've got some carrots, and I'm just going to harvest everything with those. I haven't lifted them yet, so I have no idea how big or how little they are, but even if they are tiny, we can just sell them as tiny baby carrots. It's all a test, remember, it's all a test. And then that's it. We have now planted all of my garlic and my onions. So we've got a garlic bed here, a garlic and onion bed here, and then an onion bed here. So they are now all in. I'm not doing broad beans until spring. Because I have found in the past with overwintering broad beans, it's great if it's really cold, but if it's fairly warm and they get a good growth on them, they grow too much and then the frost does frost the leaves off. So I'm not going to put them in until the spring. So that's the extent of the market garden and the flower farm. I know it doesn't look like a huge amount because it's not. We are just starting out. This has been the test year. We haven't grown a vast amount of things. And as I said to you before, I was never even going to do markets this year. That was a thing for next year. And it's only because I kind of had some excess stock to take that I thought, let's do one. So this coming up market is on Saturday. It's in Halesworth. It's the old Rifle Hall in Halesworth. It's Saturday the 8th, 9th, 10th, 13th, I think, 13th of November. And just to be able to take food and flowers and all this produce to a market in the second week of November has got me quite excited. It's definitely made me realise that I can grow throughout the large part of the year, which has also led me to being able to believe in myself that I can set up a CSA. So the CSA is now for sale on our website. It's a 20-week box scheme, £10 a week, so £200, and it runs from, I think, the end of May to the middle of September or something like that, a 20-week period. But I'll put the link below so you can check it out. If you are local, then feel free to support us and buy a CSA share. Or if you're setting up your own market garden and you want to think about how you might produce shares, take a look and you'll see how I've written it out. But I'm excited and I will let you know how the market goes, and follow the Instagram and the Facebook, because I will also set up there some posts on what we're taking, and I'll do in the VIP Facebook group, I'll do a breakdown of what we're taking as well with all the prices. So if you're in that, you can kind of get a more sort of insight into my thinking. But now I'm going to stop the dog from laying on the baby cow, which he looks about like he's about to pull them up. And I'm going to go and see if I can pick some seed heads. Oh, because that's the other thing. See, I almost forgot something. The other thing that I am attempting to sell this weekend at the market are wreaths. I am not a crafty person at all. And I look at other people's crafts and wreaths and Christmas stuff and I think, wow, that's relatively simple. And then I make it myself and it looks horrible. So I am attempting to make I've made some willow rings from willow whips on the farm. I've cut loads of bracken to dry. So I'm attempting to make some bracken based Christmas wreaths with dried flowers, teasels, some pheasant feathers and other things like that. So I'll put some pictures of those up as well when I'm done. But that I'm hoping if we can sell, I've got 5 willow rings. I'm hoping if I can sell them for £20 each, I've got £100. So again, a test. I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see if it works. So with that said, I am off to go and forage some wild seed heads and stuff that I can use. But I will see you in the next video and I will then break down how our market went.